holy and undivided Trinity. Amen. I have a box of props today, and I think the best way to begin probably is to get you to help me identify it. So we'll start with what's on top. And this was a hard one to track down. But so what is this? A gate. You got it. That's as hard as it gets. A gate. Okay. Let's see. Any of you around at Christmas should get this one. What's this?
Shepherd.
Okay. You don't see much of these anymore. In fact, this is so old it's falling apart, especially since GPS. And what does it show us? The way. Oh, here we go. Voila.
Lamp.
Light. Okay. Oh, well this might be a stretch. Can you all see this? Do you know what it is? Yes, a defibrillator. What does it do? Brings you back to life. This, by the way, lives in a little cabinet outside the office door, just so everybody knows that. And I just want no stone unturned here. There is a sign on there right now that says the defibrillator is at the altar. So you never need to know where it is. Okay. This has seen better days. What is this? A vine. Okay. And you see this? Bread. Bread. So, you're very good. Now can you tell me, what do these 7 items have in common? Pardon me? Oh, good. They've been used to describe Jesus, he said. In fact, Jesus used them to describe himself. These are the predicates of the 7 I am statements in the Gospel according to John. Did you all know there are 7 I am statements in the Gospel according to John? Indeed. In fact, parenthetically, Episcopalians always freak out when somebody says, well, where does it say in the Bible? Because we don't do chapter and verse stuff. But let me give you a little trick. If anyone ever asks you, where does it say in the Bible? Where does Jesus say, I am? Say, before they finish the sentence, Gospel according to John. And you'll be 99%, you'll be right. Because he has these 7 I am statements. And today we heard the first one of them. Why do you think there are these 7 I am statements in John?
7 is a perfect number.
7 is a perfect number, right. But let's talk about why are there statements that begin I am? What was John trying to show by doing that? Of God. He's connecting Jesus with God. Well, how does that I am connected with God? Think back to the book of Exodus, before the reading we heard this morning from Exodus. The people have been enslaved, the Israelites in Egypt, for hundreds of years. God commissions Moses to lead them out of slavery, and there's this little interchange, which I love. It's one of my favorites. Moses says, okay, well, if I go to the Israelites and tell them that you sent me, and they ask me your name, what should I say? You all remember? I am that I am, God says. Or I will be who I will be. Or I am becoming what I am becoming. What I love about this is that God chooses to be identified not by a noun, a thing, but by a verb. verb of being. God says, tell them I am sent you. So there's no question the point that is being made in John's Gospel when Jesus says, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. But these statements not only point to Jesus' divinity, but they also, as he always does, they point to something about God. You know, we who believe in the incarnation, which essentially is that when we see the person Jesus, we see God, that are shown how that works wonderfully in these statements, because by Jesus' uttering them, he is showing us something about God. He starts by saying, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never hunger, and whoever believes in me will never thirst. Now, if you were paying close attention to that gospel reading, started by saying that he said this right after he had fed the 5,000. They were out in the middle of nowhere, and the people were hungry. They'd been listening to him. And he feeds them with a couple of loaves of bread. And that, of course, is very reminiscent of another story from Exodus that we did here. When the Israelites have left Egypt, they're fleeing slavery, and they're in the desert, and there's nothing to eat. And they are hungry, and God gives them manna, bread of heaven. And so this is the feeding that feeds the hunger of the body. I was thinking about hunger. How would you define hunger? What is hunger? 20 that night, hunger may happen with 24 hours without food.
It's a yearning.
A yearning. I think that for me, the most helpful way is to see it as a signal. Hunger is a signal or an alarm. It is like the gas gauge in our car. It signals emptiness. Hunger signifies that the stomach is empty. Now see, the problem, you might push back on me with this, but the problem is we often connote craving with hunger, and they're two different things. Because sometimes we crave food when our bellies are completely full. And we crave drink when we've had too much already. And we crave money when we're far from poor. That's craving. But when we experience hunger, it means in the body, the stomach is empty. And the way to fill it is with bread, which is a generic for food. So when Jesus says, I am the bread of life, he's pointing to God. He's talking about God is that which fills the emptiness in our life. God fills that emptiness, and therefore is the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will not hunger, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Thirst is that signal of being parched, of being dry. And Jesus says that whoever comes to God will not be dry nor empty. So he's pointing not only to himself, but to God. Listen, we can't go into all of them today, you'll be relieved, but a few words. Jesus says, I am the gate. Whoever goes in and out by me will find pastures. So God is the provider of home, of a place. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. He's saying God. All life comes from God. And everything that God touches comes to life. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. What is he saying about God? That God is not only the destination, God is the journey. God is with us every step of the way. I am the light of the world. Whoever walks in me will not be in darkness. God is that which illuminates. God gives us meaning in life. I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. God is the one who cares beyond anything we can conceive, sacrificing to the utmost. I've left the vine. Did I say the vine? I am the vine. You are the branches. Whoever abides in me will bear much fruit. This got cut off on the root. That's why it's not true. But he's saying God is the one who enables us to produce and to be godlike, co-creators with God. So he claims the statement for himself, I am, at the same time that he is telling us something about God. But if we truly believe in the incarnation, that when we see Jesus, we see God in Jesus, and we see Jesus in God, then we must say the same about ourselves, since we are brothers, earthly brothers and sisters with our Lord Jesus Christ, who shared our flesh and blood. We too must see God in ourselves in God. So as we say goodbye to these predicates, they each have something to say to us as well. When Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches, he is reminding us that insofar as we stay rooted in the eternal, we will never not be productive. When Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life, he is saying that insofar as we live in God, we will never be erased from the picture. When Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, we just sang in that hymn, I hope you know why I chose it. He is saying, as long as we walk with God, walk in God's teachings, we will never be lost. When Jesus says, I am the light of the world, whoever believes in me will not walk in darkness, he is saying that as long as we keep our eyes focused on God, we will never be lost. When Jesus says, I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep, he's saying as long as we flock to that which is holy, we will always be cared for. When Jesus says, I am the gate, he is saying that inasmuch as we live and move and have our being, as our comings and goings are in the Holy One, we will always be at home. And when Jesus says, I am the bread of heaven, he is saying, as long as we feast on the body and blood of God, which we will do with this very loaf in a few minutes, as long as we live that into our lives, share in that feast, our lives will never be empty, and we will never be dry. And I'm going to give this to our oblation bearer. You may carry it up at the offertory. So, when I go to the people and say, you sent me, and they ask me your name, what do I say? Tell them I